we love to give homework. So I also have homework for you. This one I wrote in a small L, right? And in green font. So later on, you need to write on a piece of paper and give it to the committee. What does that mean? Okay? After my presentation. I'm kidding. But there's something for you to think about. What is it small L? Okay, it's not a grammatical mistake. There is a reason. Okay. Now let's start with. Right. This is the theme of the conference, current belief about ELT, and I was invited to do a presentation about literature and ELT. So I thought I put two together, and I would like to start with a quiz. Okay. What you need to do is, it's true or false. It's kind of, you need to raise your hand if it's true. Don't do anything if it's false. Okay? Raise your hand if it's true. Don't do anything if it's false. Don't be shy, please. Okay. The first one, I teach English using literature. How many of you using literature and teaching English? Nobody. Interesting. One, okay. Okay, raise your hand higher. Okay. Right? Very good. What about the next one? When I think of literature, I think of works of Shakespeare, Emily Dickinson, and Langston Hughes. Yes. Okay. The student mother tongue is a hindrance to acquire English. This is tied nicely about Willie's presentation. Should we use English to teach English? Okay, kind of confused, right? The next one, I can never lose my mother tongue. Mother tongue always stays with me. Yes. Okay, a lot of hands. And then the last one, I have one mother tongue. I have one mother tongue.
One mother and one tongue.
Okay, only, yeah, perhaps around 10. Okay, it's the same. Now let's see whether you still have the same opinion as you have now after my presentation. Now, okay, who uses literature in teaching English? I think there are some. But the important question is, why do you use literature in teaching English? Now, I would like to summarize why people use literature in teaching English by quoting Carter and Long. According to them, they have a really nice cultural model, language model, and personal growth model. People use literature in English classroom is because it gives some sort of media where the learners can see how the target culture is used in the context, okay, and how the target speakers use the language creatively to convey the meaning. And most of all, people use literature, sorry for that, okay, because of this model. So literature is not just a text, but people believe, or especially teachers believe, that the student can become a better instructional approach and all that. So the main focus is still on the literature. Okay? And you deal a lot with literature with a big L. That's categorized under Shakespeare, the literature with a big L. Langston Hughes, literature with a big L. But another way of using literature is what Carter and Long called literature as a resource. So you use literature to learn English. So the primary is still the learning English, not the literature. So in other words, literature here is a device for learning English. Okay. And literature as a resource, we often use literature with a small L. So the extensive reading material, language learning literature, those are literature with the small s. So they are two kind of literature. So my focus today is the literature as a course and literature with a small s. And this is not something literature in English classroom. In fact, there are plenty of books that promote the use of literature as a resource. Okay, there are 8 books here, which is my favorite, and as you can see, all of these deal with literature with a small l. So this one is literature, poem. This one about drama. And this one is you learn the language by using literature. Now, because of the wealth of literature, I often wonder, why don't people use literature in content classes, in content courses? Because when we teach in pre-service teacher education, the 3rd and 4th year, we usually teach content courses, right? Social linguistics, CCU, what else? Teaching and learning strategy and all that. But somehow, after the 3rd and 4th year, I don't know why. Even though many people say it's good, but somehow it disappears. So this makes me wonder, content courses. So I use it in my cross-cultural understanding class. Okay? So this is the presentation, the focus of the presentation. It's kind of like action reading of using literature with a small l in content courses, in particular CC. And this is a little bit about the course that I tried out. It is a content course. It's offered in the 3rd year, and the purpose of the CCU course is to develop student intercultural competence when shuttling between different communities of English speakers. And then it's 3 hours per week, and as in any content courses, usually it's in a large class size. 40 students, 50 students in a classroom. So it's very different from language classroom. And this is the topic in the CCU course. I divided into 2 big topics: understanding self and understanding others. Because you cannot understand others without understanding yourself. And these are the topics. I'm going to focus on this one, the mother tongue unit. So I developed a unit called the mother tongue unit, and it lasts for 4 weeks. So in 4 weeks, we talk about the mother tongue. And it's kind of tricky in Indonesia, because which one is mother tongue, Indonesian or the local language? Now, the reason why I chose this topic is because I usually love to conduct initial surveys at the beginning of the class to understand what students' common conceptualization of the mother tongue. And the result of that, okay, so this is the definition that student wrote about the mother tongue. So according to them, from the distribution, the answer is very clear. They are kind of confused when you have to start defining what is mother tongue. But if you look at the percentage, the 20% one, according to the students, they think mother tongue is language that is commonly used since birth, first language. Right? That's what they hear from their social linguistic class, because I asked. That's what we learned from social linguistic class. And another question is that I asked, what language do you consider your language or my language? And many of them say, oh, Indonesian is my language, which is really interesting because only 42.9%. I was expecting they like 80% would say Indonesian is their my language. And 33.3% Japanese is my language. Obviously, many of my students come from Java. But what is really interesting about this table is that there are 19% who say English is my language. Which is really interesting, I think, because I asked them, in academic setting, what language do you use the most? English. Because in Satewacana we require the students use English all the time. I think the same as here too. So, but not many of them brave enough to claim ownership of English. So I think this 19% students, they're kind of brave. Now, this is another interesting data. Remember the quiz at the beginning of the session? I asked about, is mother tongue only one language, right? And according to my students, 85.7% mother tongue consists of one language only. There's only one mother tongue, which I think is really interesting. Because in Indonesia, do we have one mother tongue? It's very unlikely. But many of them say, oh, I have one mother tongue. I don't know whether perhaps this is what they heard from their content courses in social linguistics, or because there are many books, especially from monolingual countries, where they assume mother tongue is only one. But when it comes to a multilingual country like our country, it becomes a little bit tricky. Okay, so two languages, only 16.7%. Okay, so that's the first reason why I create this unit. The next reason is because there is what I think as common misconception in our society. So the first one, I think this ties up to the rector's speech, which is named here. There is this kind of fear in the society that the popularization of English will eat up the mother tongue. So if English becomes popular, then everybody speaks English. What happened to our mother tongue? In fact, I think there is a seminar that will be held in UNS about preserving the mother tongue. So that's interesting, right? I'm also promoting the seminar. And the next one is, okay, this is very common. The acquisition of English will result in westernization of Indonesians and contaminate Indonesian values and culture. This is very clear from the newest curriculum 2013. That's why English that used to be muatan local content, now it becomes extracurricular content. Because there is this fear that Indonesian children will become little Westerners. So that's why we need to, quote-unquote, omit English and teach them Indonesian. And the last one is that also there is a belief, the same as rector's speech, I think. The teaching of English disregards the student mother tongue as well as local values and culture. Now my argument is that, okay, actually the teaching of English can be a way to revitalize student local culture and values. This is what is known as EIL pedagogy. So through English, we can build student love for their own country, for their own values, or to be critical toward their own values. So that's what I'm trying to say in this presentation. In particular, I'm promoting the use of bilingual narrative in English. It is a literature with, I call it bilingual narrative in English. What is actually bilingual narrative in English? Some call it published testimonies or language memoirs. And it is written testimonies of English-speaking multilingual talking about their experiences of learning and living with several languages, one of which is English. I think we never use this kind of text, right? Where the author talk about how to struggle or how to navigate between different languages. And most often, the writer, they are immigrants in countries where English is the dominant language in the society. I would love to use BNE written by Indonesians or somebody from EFL country, but I found it difficult to get, so that's why I used this. But even though it's kind of different, students can compare and contrast the experience that the author has with their own. Now, this is why I'm using BNE, because different from literature with a capital L, that usually the actors, they are native speaker or monolingual English speaker. But BNE, the narrator is usually bilingual English speakers. And then it's the same with our students, because all of our students, they are bilingual in English. So in a way, they can relate more with the character. And these are two books that I usually use in my classes. The first one, Translating Life. I use, I think, several stories from that. And Language and Culture by Nugrahenny T. So you can take a look at the book. I'm not promoting the book, but it's not mine. And then, okay, another thing that we need to think about when we use literature in content courses is to not just give the literature. But what is really important is you need to think of how you are going to scaffold the literature. Scaffolding activity. What is scaffolding activity? Is a collaborative interaction or task that the teacher designed to help the students to complete a task which they otherwise cannot solve or complete by themselves. So this is the job of the teacher when you want to use literature in your content courses. Now, this is what the unit looks like. So the name of the unit is Mother Tongue. So I asked the student to read 6 bilingual narrative in English. And these consist of different kind of text. Later on you will see. Like this one is a very, very short story, just 2 pages. It's online. And this one is kind of more demanding because it's an academic paper. This one is a poem, the one that you have, I think, right, you have right now. And this two is a short story. Okay? If you look at the design of the unit, which principle do you think I used to design the unit? It's extensive reading, actually. So I asked the student to read extensively about the mother tongue. So from extensive reading approach. Okay, and this is another scaffolding that I use. And in fact, for each bilingual narrative in English, I use this framework. Okay, so presenting the bilingual narrative in English, I have noticing activity, and there is a class reflection, and an output. And the output is that at the end of 4 weeks, student needs to produce their own BNE. Not a really long one, just a short version of how they narrate their mother tongue and English and other languages, in English of course, after giving them input from BNE. Okay, let's see the first one, presenting BNE. Like I said earlier, don't just give the text. Teacher needs to be creative and resourceful in thinking of a way to engage the students. These are some of the ways to present literature or text. The first one is jigsaw reading. Do you know what jigsaw reading is? Yeah, okay. The next one is, this is a very popular one, sustained silent reading. Give the students the text and ask them to read silently. Even though this is popular, I don't think the student liked it much. My students don't like read silently in class. They usually get distracted for whatever reason. Even though this is, I think, the most favorite strategy of the teacher. And the next one is listening input. So with the technology now, you can get the text in the listening input, recording. very easy to get. And then another one is, students love this one, role play the text. Ask the student to role play the text. And it's really interesting because you can see how they understand the text by the role play they design. And the last one, where is that? Is this one, choral reading. Where's my model? Okay. Okay. This is choral reading, and actually I'm interested to try this out. I still have time, right? Okay. This will be a challenge for me because this is the first time I teach in this big class. Okay, let's see where the choral reading works. You have a text in front of you. Okay. I didn't sleep all night trying to highlight the different parts of the text. Okay? What you need to do is, you need to read the part that's highlighted only. Okay? You don't need to read everything. You only read the parts that are highlighted. Okay? And this is actually from Sujata. She's an Indian, right? So I'm really lucky today we have some two people from India who's going to help me to read the middle one. Okay? So all of you, the rest of you are going to read in English, and Ibu Desri, and you will read. Can we stand up? People said that your voice, do as a way to present the BNE is listening. Because if you go to YouTube and you type this, you can get the author reading it. Okay? And if the choral reading works, if it works, usually it works with a small number of students because I tried it with 30 students. And students love it because, when you read in together, it's less threatening and it's fun. Okay, so that's why they like it. And students can compare and contrast the way they read the poem and the way the author reads the poem. Okay, so if you want to hear this, you can just go on YouTube and write it. You will get the listening version, the recording of that. Okay, so the next one is noticing activities. Noticing activities are very important because that's a way to ask students to refocus on a certain part of the text. And it asks the students to reinforce their skimming and scanning skills that they have learned in their language classes. Now, okay, this is what I've just said. And this is content-focused noticing strategy that I created. It's called donut question. Very easy to remember. Especially my class is 11 to 1. Students remember like this donut question. It's donut.
Yeah.
But in Indonesia, donut.
Not.
Okay, so it consists of how does the author define the mother tongue. From the 6th BNE, they define the mother tongue differently. And then what are their opinions about the mother tongue? So this is to help the student to understand the text before they talk about their opinions. And then how many languages do they speak, the author? And then what are their feelings towards the mother tongue, APAS? And the last one, how long have they used English? Because this usually affects the mother tongue. And this is just, I'm trying to show you the definition offered in course book about mother tongue and the definition of mother tongue in bilingual narrative of English. Now, this is the same with my student answer. Interestingly, the language one went first and the language one useless. Right? Very common in course books. And this is the definition of mother tongue by Veronica. She Shanghainese, but she lived in Australia for quite some time. So for her, this is a mother tongue. No one ever asked where I was originally from when I spoke my language. It is the language that I can speak without thinking of where to place my tongue inside my mouth. Because in a foreign language you have to think, okay, my tongue goes behind my front teeth or something like that. And I can have full judgment about whether it is right or wrong, appropriate or inappropriate to say things in certain ways. It is the language that shaped my earlier and most lively experiences that makes me who I am. But of course, this is also interesting because I asked my students, do you think you have a full judgment when in Japanese? Do you know? Many of my students say, we only speak vocal, so I don't think we have full judgment, even though they claim Japanese is their mother tongue. So again, this is another one by Salis. He is an English speaker, but he learned Arabic as a second language. And he wrote a really nice article on foster mother tongue, because he would like to claim Arabic as his foster mother tongue. And this is his definition about mother tongue. So our mother tongue becomes an invisible umbilical cord, the only thing that sustains, nurture, and links the me of here and now to the me from there. So provide some sort of continuity. And the next one is, of course, the output, the PNE. And I'm just going to share several PNE or some quotes from the student PNE and portfolio that they produce. Okay, so the PNE that students like the most is the PNE that the student can relate to in terms of, that talks about the importance of maintaining the mother tongue. They like this kind of PNE. And this is what they wrote. Use a picture. So before the course, they have this attitude, don't worry, I will never lose my Japanese. But after the course, I could actually lose my mother tongue. This is actually true, because there is a really nice article by Lam and Coleman who say that in Indonesia, mother tongue speakers, or the number of mother tongue, is decreasing because Indonesian language and English. And this is another one, is that before learning CCU, mother tongue, what is that? Indonesian. Mother tongue can be lost. I have to take care of my mother tongue no matter what. So even mother tongue, you need to take care of mother tongue even though you teach English. I always say to my students, even though you are an English speaker, you have to make sure your Indonesian language is also correct. Because sometimes, because you use English a lot, your Indonesian doesn't sound like Indonesian. It sounds like English translated into Indonesian, if you know what I mean. Okay? So I think we also need to take care of our mother tongue.